You know, when you have those snack attacks and you really just want a fresh cookie? Yeah, that's why you have slice and bake ones ready to go. A refrigerator cookie is one of my favorite go-tos, and these encompass all those good things. You cream some butter and sugars, you put in some delicious oatmeal and chocolate chips, roll them up in some wax paper, let them sit for a while in the fridge or the freezer, and then you just slice and bake. Seriously, who needs to buy pre-made cookie dough when you can make these? All of it is coming up on today's Wise Guide. Early spring is kind of always one of those times where you want to be outside all the time, but you could have some gross weather still, a little bit cold, so a lot of times I am still inside and thinking all those things I want to make. And these cookies are one of those items. I love to go through my grandma's old cookbooks and just remember all the awesome times I had making cookies with her and my other grandma. We would walk over there all the time as children and make cookies. The next few videos are gonna encompass recipes that these amazing women in my life have taught me. Both of my grandmas and my mom were huge bakers and cooks in the kitchen, and that's where I learned everything. There ain't no professional training here. I know, half of you out there are like, yeah, obviously. But seriously, these are just great homespun recipes that the favorite women in my life have taught me. The cookies start with brown butter. Take 2 sticks and melt them in a small skillet over medium-high heat. Once they are melted, continue cooking until it starts to foam. You'll think it's cooking for a long time, but all of a sudden that foam is gonna slightly subside and underneath it is gonna start to turn brown. Take it to a nice, deep, golden, nutty color. You'll smell it too. And then remove it from the heat when you see all those brown bits. Scrape it right into a bowl, including all those bits because those have the flavor. And then let it cool completely until it is somewhat congealed again. These cookies start like most others. You want to cream together the brown butter, brown sugar, and white granulated sugar together. Just cream it till it's really well combined and a little bit lighter and airy. Add an egg and vanilla. Mix that up. At this point, I just like to scrape down the sides of the bowl and make sure everything is incorporating evenly. For the dry ingredients, scoop some flour. I like to scoop it into my measuring cup and level it off. That way you don't pack it in there and get too much. Some baking soda and salt. Mix that up till it's combined. And then add your oatmeal. And I always use old-fashioned rolled oats. I don't like the quick cooking kind because they just get all mealy and kind of gross. And finally, some chocolate chips. And for these, since they are a nostalgic, delicious cookie, I'm using milk chocolate chips. Because you know what? It is okay to say you don't always like dark chocolate. I don't always. Sweeter the milk chocolate is and just creamier. It has a better flavor sometimes. And I'm not gonna feel bad about saying that. Stir that up to incorporate. Take it off the mixer. Just make sure it's all mixed together. And then have a couple pieces of parchment or wax paper. Divide the dough in half. It doesn't have to be perfect, just visually. Make it into a log, kind of just form it with your hand to make sure it's making a log. And then roll the wax or parchment paper over it. I like to use a bench scraper, pull back on it to make sure it's a nice shape, roll it up, cinch the sides in, and put it right in the fridge. Now, if you want to, because who doesn't want to have just fresh cookie dough all the time, you could have this in the freezer over 3 months. Put it in a nice, like, airtight bag. Seriously, it's just ready to go. You take it out, you slice it, you bake it. If not, put them in the fridge, let them chill for about an hour. Once you're ready to bake, you can just have your oven preheated and your baking sheets lined with parchment paper. Take the dough out of the fridge, slice it to about 1/8 to a 1/2 inch. If you want to measure it, you can. I don't really measure it because, I don't want to. I don't need to. But just kind of a rough estimate. If the cookies fall apart, because sometimes you hit a chunk of that chocolate, and they do, don't freak out. Just push them back together. That's the great thing about slice and bake cookies. Place them right on that lined baking sheet. Put them right into your preheated oven and let them bake. These are a pretty firm cookie, so they're not gonna spread out or puff up a lot. You just wanna let them get set around the edges, still slightly soft in the middle. You know what you're doing by this point. Once the cookies are done, pull them out and let them cool on that pan for at least 5 minutes. At this point, you can of course just eat them all. I won't tell anyone. Or you can put them right into an airtight container and put them in the freezer. You know I love to have cookies in the freezer, but seriously, these are so easy to make that you may as well just make them fresh when you want them. Slice and bake cookies are one of my favorite go-tos. They're kind of a nostalgic and old-time recipe, and I know your grandmas, just like mine, made these too. If you like this recipe, make sure to stick around because I have more great recipes from the women in my life that have meant the most to me. So like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.